Okay, this is July 5th, 2019. We're in the home with Mr. and Mrs. Glen Summitt here in Loudon. Mr. Summitt is a World War II veteran. First, I would like to thank both of you for allowing us to come into your home to do this interview. And we hope that future generations of Loudon Countyans will be able to see this and become educated. First of all, when were you drafted? Or did you enlist?
No, I was drafted. I got my draft notice in February 1945. Date, I don't know. February 1945 to report March the 1st to Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. You're familiar with that name?
Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
Was that 21? 20? I'll have to do some figuring. Let's see, 26 to 45? 19?
19.
Yeah, 19.
Were you living in Loudon at that time?
No, I live in Monroe County.
Okay.
I was born out about 3 miles outside of Honor and Madisonville out in the country, place called Lakeside.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about your time in boot camp.
I had 2 boot camps. When I was drafted, the Battle of the Bulge was happening, and we were expedited and run through early training for deployment to Germany. And I got sick, went to the hospital with pneumonia, and the war in Europe ended in April. I forget now, but anyway. And then when I came back out, they said, we're going to send you all to Japan. So we got another 13 weeks of basic going into to Japan for the invasion for that. And before my basic was over, Japan quit. And so I didn't go any place. But another boy and myself, with the name of Wiederholt, were pulled out of the training. The rest of our units was deployed somewhere, I don't know where. But we were pulled out and brought to Fort Benning, Georgia, just the 2 of us. And he was pulled out from there and sent to Germany. I was sent to Fort McPherson to assist in processing soldiers returned from overseas. And at Fort McPherson for about 4 months. And I went to New Jersey. I got on a ship for 8 days, ended up in Le Havre, France, and from there by train to Munich, Germany, by truck to Hersching Air Force Base in Austria, and from that air base I was assigned to the light tank troop and went to a castle. My squad was in the castle in protecting or providing assistance, whatever needed out in that area. We lived in a castle. From there, I went to Goldsbach in Austria. And from there, I was transferred to Lenzing, Austria. I'm still in the light tank troop. And shortly after we got there, we got orders to disband and send a flag back to the States for that company. And we became a 4th Constabulary Squadron. And should I put in there I met her?
Go right ahead. We're going to hit that later, but that's okay.
On the first 4th of July, I was there. We went downtown. We were going to an Army parade. And we stopped off in downtown Fechterbrook, and I met my future wife there. And from Fechterbrook, I was changed to the 4th Constabulary, sent to Wales, Austria, and became an MP, a Constabulary MP, and we patrolled of the whole countryside. We were out road, but we did whatever they wanted us to do, and many things. I stayed there till my daughter was born there in May of 1948. After we got married, of course.
Yeah, I hope so, Ken. We've been married a year before she come along.
And
Well,
then
thank you.
that's all. You got it. I told you, recorded it.
Now, what branch of service were you in?
Army.
Army. Okay.
Cavalry was when I trained here, it was infantry, but when I went overseas, it was cavalry. And it's that yellow
Okay.
shoulder patch. Then when we came home in 1948, normally we carried our 201 file with us. For some reason, they wouldn't let me have mine. And between Wales, Austria, and Frankfurt, Germany, my 201 file disappeared.
Okay, what is the 201 file?
That's your personnel record file, your rank, all your training, everything. It's a complete record of your Army history.
Okay.
And when I got to Frankfurt, we stayed there for about 14 days. Finally, they sent me to the States by way of Paris, the Azores, Newfoundland, to Westover Field in Massachusetts. There, they made a temporary record and sent our daughter, and me round through Lakeside. And I spent 30 days, then reported at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And at Fort Knox, Kentucky, I took us. What did I have up there?
Well, you should know.
Scarlet fever.
Scarlet fever.
Yeah, I had scarlet fever up there. Spent a little over 3 weeks in the hospital there, getting shot twice a day. I got penicillin, 2 a day for 30 days.
Wow.
That's a lot of penicillin
That's
shots.
a lot of penicillin.
Then at that time, Korean War was going pretty strong over there. And I told them, no way, didn't want no part of Korea, because what they wouldn't do, they wouldn't send me back where I'd been. But anyway, so I was discharged in November, the day after Thanksgiving in 1948, and came to Bonover and lived up there. The rest of my military was with the National Guard. So
Okay. And
It's
you
all
served in the
Lenoir
National
City.
Guard for 28
28
years.
Is it all at Lenoir City?
Yeah. Besides your wife, do you remember anybody who stood out as being special, a special friend during your time in service?
I had several, but one character, a guy by the name of Deaton in Austria. It's not good, but he was a good person. Every night I put him to bed. we'd go, I'd go downtown and spend time with her, and we'd drink Coke and things like that. He went downtown and he sat down to his beer. And before the hour and a half was over, he was laying with his head down. He's drunk. And we took him back. And I liked him. He was just I guess he'd have done anything for me that I wanted, but I put him to bed just about every night.
So he stood out
You
there.
said, don't remember?
Uh-huh.
You always
Yeah.
said, "Shh, don't tell anybody that I played."
One incident, I want to get this in there.
Okay.
The first Thanksgiving she and I were together, our mess sergeant, everything then was dehydrated and all that stuff. Our mess sergeant spent time, went out in the country, probably was against the law, but he hunted up fresh turkeys that people had. Not fresh, but young turkeys.
Yeah.
And he got potatoes fresh out of the ground and some other things. Anyway, they made us a real good Thanksgiving dinner. And this one guy by the name of Harn and the other were Reichert. They were characters too, but anyway, they were drinking all morning that Thanksgiving morning. And when dinner came, they were pretty well tipsy. And we were eating in there, and one of them said something to the other, and he didn't like it. I don't know what it was. Anyway, my wife had joined us for dinner there. And one of them threw a handful of potatoes, and then a spoonful of potatoes. and it ruined a perfectly great Thanksgiving meal because after it got that way, everybody else, but her and I, she and I, enjoyed it. And they just tore that place all to pieces. I thought that sergeant spent all that time doing that, and that was the terriblest thing I ever had happen all the time I was in service.
Well, your story leads me right into the next question I had. That was probably your best meal, right?
It was yeah, I'd say it was.
During
It would have
service.
been, yeah.
My next question was, what was your worst meal that you had there?
It's a breakfast meal. It's beef, ground beef, fried with gravy over it,
And
and
dressing.
toasted bread, and they put it over that. And I can't tell you what the name of it is. SOS is what they call
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I've heard of that one.
That wasn't good.
No. Well, how did your military experience, how did that affect the rest of your life?
It made all the difference in it. I was just a country boy, and really back then country boys did not have too much energy toward going forward. My daddy did. He pushed me. He said, if you want to do something, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we were farmers, and it taught me. I fired weapons I never would even looked at in there. I fired from a pistol to the big artillery pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I drove the biggest tank that the Army has. I drove the smallest tank that they had. I helped in communications. They sent me to school, and I got 26 weeks of communications. Had to repair and maintaining everything to where I could even work. I worked on televisions out here.
Wow.
That and knowing that I could take a nail and drive it with a hammer, they taught me that I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
It learned me to listen when somebody gave me instructions and not resent it if I really didn't like it. It taught me to get along with people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best people I was with in the Army were drunk at night, every night. I didn't approve of it, but I still was. But they treated me nice. I'd recommend it for any boy or girl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and girls too, I would.